5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Weekend confirmed.
Ignition. Liftoff. Liftoff.
And Miss Andrea Rene here from Clever Games.
Hello, everybody.
Our returning champion.
Yes.
With
You know what's funny?
$60,300.
I just watched our old Knocked Out episode when I beat everybody on Mortal Kombat characters.
You sometimes just load that up. Just have a little pick-me-up during the day.
Make yourself feel good.
Yeah.
Right. Damn
Yeah.
right, Sub-Zero. Shit, yeah. Sonya, I'm naming all of them shits. Oh.
You go, Andrew.
I
go.
watched
You
it for
can
a
win.
purpose, okay? It wasn't just for shits and giggles.
You know, I used to have a Mortal Kombat arcade stick.
That's what you said.
It's gone now.
Oh.
That thing was awesome, too. I remember telling everybody how much I loved it.
They're making googly
Inside
eyes
jokes.
at each other, I
No,
think.
inside jokes. Though.
I just
Oh,
thought that
that's
there
great
was
for this
two-
podcast.
There's
That
two
was fun. The more
females
the
on the
better.
show today.
Yes.
This is the first for
Heck
me.
yeah.
Yeah, you
This
guys
is
gonna
great.
do like girl gaming, and me and Zav and Jeff will, I don't know, sit outside the dressing room on the chairs and.
What
We have
does
a
that
we have a
mean?
Look at our
dressing room.
phones.
What does that
We
mean?
can do our nails.
Yeah.
It's like what happens, you know, like
we
when
could
you.
talk about like, cool girly games.
Like
you
what?
know,
Like
where
what
you
would you
have
talk
like
about?
like Sims pets.
The funny thing is, neither of you play those games.
All them
I
Barbie
know.
games.
I'm pretty sure that's with a Z at the end, so it's not really that feminine.
Well, I was just joshing around anyway.
Hey y'all.
There you go.
There we go.
Take your second shot.
And you're off to a running
Yeah.
start.
This might be everyone's favorite episode of the year.
It's certainly mine already.
Could be.
Well, we're not even drinking. That's the funny part.
We can solve that. Let's get
We're all hopped up on sugar, is what it is.
let's
Yeah.
get a start.
We've
Hey,
been
by the
eating
way,
cookies.
thank you to my mom, who scarily
Your
enough
mom.
usually does listen. That's my mom and my niece made these cookies for us.
Your mom did she go by
Thank you,
Mrs. Lee?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mrs.
No,
Lee.
actually, well, no, not anymore. But
Yeah.
she goes by Mrs. Bishop.
Mrs. Bishop, thank you.
The
In the bottom
peppermint
of our
bark
heart.
is delicious.
And now listen to what your sugar has wrought.
It has already done its damage, I think.
Hey, so here's what the damage is going to be on this show. We're going to start off looking at several of the games throughout 2011. What I did was I went back through all of the weekend confirms for this year. There were a lot of them. You know, like
One every week, actually.
one every week. What the fuck? So I looked at the games
It's at
that
least 30 episodes.
I don't know the math on
35 or
that,
so, I don't know, something. I went through a bunch of the games that were interesting to us, and in several cases, games that we got really excited about. I thought it would be interesting for us to go back and say, okay, we were really excited about these when they launched. We were playing them. We were excited about them. How do we feel about them now? Of course, I've sort of, surgically taken out the heavy hitters, as I've called them, because, those are still part of the conversation. But many of these games,
Well, I know you hate this, but I'm going to say it anyway.
yes.
Can we say that 2011 is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, year of video games?
Why
in
do I
history?
wait? So why did you preface that by saying
Don't you hate trying to compare years against
Oh yeah, I
each
do.
other?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. But
Because it's really
still,
difficult.
you can't deny the fact that 2011 is absolutely incredible with the number of super high
Genius.
quality. Yeah, I think you could go toe to toe with any year you want to bring up, but
Stepping into the ring.
I'm just
Weighing
saying,
in at 35 AAA titles.
as we'll prove,
2009.
yeah, as we'll prove by going down this list, I think it's pretty. I mean, even the games that you're like, oh, I forgot that even came out, are in any other year would be
You bet.
at the top of your
Absolutely.
list. Yeah.
Absolutely. We're going to conclude that, of course, talking a little bit about some of the Game of the Year candidates, and including, if you guys are up for it, some selections, or at least some of your thoughts on Game of the Year. Shack News is actually holding off on doing our Game of the Year voting until the end of the year to allow time for the editors to really dig in and get through all those games. And
Allow me time to edit everything that they send me.
there you go. Got to have that as well. We're also going to talk about some of the big stories from 2011. There were several highlights to the year. The 3DS launching, the outage on the PlayStation Network are a couple of the big ones. Decades for Halo and the GameCube. Yes, Billy, I remembered that the GameCube also turned 10. We're going to get into 2012 after that, and we're going to wrap this thing up with scientific wild-ass guesses on what's going to happen in 2012. And by scientific, I mean just completely random shit pulled out of our asses, and who knows what it'll be.
Hey y'all. That's working.
It's good.
I
No,
want to
you-
get them lubricated earlier.
you're-
Right? So
It's very good. I'm in favor of this staying as a permanent feature on the show. I love it. I think anytime there's an awkward pause, you need to fill it with that.
You're gonna need
is
an
pretty
aerial
excellent.
I think-
soundboard after a while.
The more the more inappropriately placed, the more like there's no reason why anybody would say "heyo" right there, the better. I
Exactly.
think that's great. Okay.
No,
No,
you
now it's-
can't
now it's
overuse
forced.
it. No,
Now
you
it's
can't
forced.
overuse it.
And they're gonna get like steaming drunk at this point in the podcast, so they really don't want that.
It's good. It'll make the show sound
This is
better.
this power comes with a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
I understand.
Well,
I want to space it out.
Ariel is our Spider-Man.
with this power comes great responsibility. So, okay, let's dive into some of these titles. The first one that popped up for me was Alice Madness Returns, which I remember looking at this game and thinking that it was going to be a disaster because obviously Alice was one of those games we had really hoped would be cool back when it originally came out, but then was sort of a surprise because it had the uniqueness of American McGee's crazy idea of what that world would look like, which this game still has, and yet this game got forgotten very quickly despite the fact that it captured all of that, looked better, and had pretty solid, if not spectacular, mechanics.
I didn't even play it, to be quite
I did not
honest
either.
with
Yeah,
you.
who here has played it?
I did.
And Zav, what was your...
We talked about it a little bit on the show, and I thought the atmosphere was great and the environment was great, but I really did not like the controls. The gameplay I thought was very, very poorly done.
What was very...
People gave me heat for it, but I still...
It was very Rochambeau. It was very like, oh, this trumps that, that trumps this. You got to use this to attack that, and set up all of your enemies. But the part of the game that's fun is seeing that crazy world.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is that enough? You know, is design enough?
It sounds like this. The kids down here at the end of the table are passing notes.
I'm going through this list as we're talking about it, and I'm writing down names of games that are not on it, and then Zav is giving me the yay or the nay. So the ones some of
Well,
them
okay.
I'm
Well, so
keeping,
what did you? Yeah, give me some of the keepers.
Infinity Blade 2.
Interesting choice. We haven't even really spoken about that much, but Zav, you played it.
I've been playing that a lot. That and Infinity Blade 2.5, which is Batman Arkham City Lockdown.
Oh, is it the same sort of
It's
like
exactly
swipe
the
your finger
same-
across the
Pretty
pad
much
thing?
the same game, which is quite good. Made by NetherRealm, the guys who did Mortal Kombat. Weird thing that happened there, but
That is
very
an
good.
odd-
Isn't that a weird thing that they're doing? They're actually working on a number of projects, including a new Mortal Kombat. They said recently, and this was one of the ones that they released. And it's
Mortal
actually
Kombat Swipe.
Mortal Kombat Swipe, yeah, of course.
There's a Mortal Kombat game for iOS. It's actually really fun. You can play versus people via Wi-Fi.
Virtual sticks.
All right, so give me the scoop
Yes.
on Infinity Blade and
Not
why you
interested.
said yay when Andrea put it down there.
Well, I just think it's a very good sequel to a game that I think a lot of people loved at first and then sort of started to hate. This reminds me of Grand Theft Auto when those come out. Everyone's like, yeah, I love Grand Theft Auto the first couple weeks, and then they start to just hate on the game for a while. And what people ended up they fell in love with Infinity Blade when it first came out, and then it turned into, it's just Punch Out. It's super Punch Out. You basically do the same thing over and over again. And what this game does remarkably better than the first one.
Not a bad game.
Not a bad game. Exactly. But what Infinity Blade does is it actually is a progression. It's not like the first game where you'd get to the end of the boss battle, you'd die, and then you'd have to start again, and it's like you're the son of the guy who just died, and you have to go through all that stuff again. In this game, it is a rolling progression. You keep going through. There's different routes, and there's different sections of the game that you go through, and then there's stuff that I think there's a leveling system. The leveling system I think is slightly different. And it's a much bigger game than they had before because I know they tried to add to the first game. The one thing it does that I don't like is there are constant reminders that you can buy your way past certain parts. So there's like
the
a chest.
microtransaction system.
Yeah, there's like a chest. It's like, oh, you need this key to open a chest. And you can go and find the chest throughout your quest, or you can pay a certain amount of money to buy it in real life to buy the key. I just think it's a good game. I don't know whether or not we're going to talk about that for Game of the Year selection, but I think that it's one of those games that may have got lost in the shuffle because it just came out a couple weeks ago.
And it's a mobile game. I mean, I feel like a lot of people just automatically assume that mobile games are these like really trite kiddie things that are 99 cents and you play them for a couple days and it's a throwaway, and it's a really beautiful looking game. I mean, the original Infinity Blade was really innovative for iOS games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I think Epic did a really great job with it, and it should be talked about.
Innovative by virtue of its visual fidelity, or innovative by virtue of the way it utilized the touch controls?
I think it's a little of column A, a little of column B. I mean, they weren't doing anything like groundbreaking as far as the gameplay style. Like, I mean, that RPG fantasy thing has been around for a while. But, I mean, they were one of the few games that made an effort to make it look like a game that you could see on a console, and also integrated, you know, the swipe applications where, you know, Jeff casually mentioned here that it kind of got overlooked, you know, virtual sticks. A lot of games on iOS devices or Android devices use virtual sticks and a virtual D-pad, virtual buttons, and this game doesn't, you know, and I think they should be commended for that.
Yeah, that was something that Mustard talked about in his GDC panel, about how one of the things they hit on right off the bat was that they had to make the game work with the functionality of the iPad, as opposed to like trying to cobble on, oh, I'm going to put virtual sticks here, because that just doesn't work.
It reminds me of some of the earlier DS games that showed you, like, okay, this was designed for this platform.
Okay, so Infinity Blade 2, definitely memorable for continuing
Okay.
to advance.
So I've been
iPad
sitting here
games.
listening to you guys talking about Infinity Blade 2.
Yeah.
Granted, I have not played it, but I
Yeah.
think it would be a Travis mockery if I allowed this to stand and not bring up Sword and Sorcery.
I was just going to say the same thing.
Because that, for me, is the iOS game of the year.
Okay.
By far. It completely changed my perception of what you could do with the device. I think it's a magical experience. It's really clever and smart. It's hip. It's different. It has its own visual style that's not aping another kind of console.
Totally agree.
It's a real
I
special
love the
experience.
guys. I love the guys who make it, and you know, I love all the music they put into it, and I can't play the game because I get bored with it in about 5 minutes.
Really?
I've tried.
I love it.
and it makes me like, I actually feel completely guilty for saying that, because I love the effort that went into it. I love the passion that went into it, but it just, for whatever reason, totally doesn't click with me. And that's really
It's
weird.
too bad.
Yeah,
I love the experience.
I've tried
of
like
the game.
5 times to get into it, and I just sort of, maybe my expectation. I think part of the problem is my expectations were set from so much love and attention for it over the first 3 or 4 weeks before I had a chance to actually sit down and play with it. Then when I did, I was like, so it's an old school adventure game, and I'm moving this guy along, but
But it's so much more clever than that. It's got its own approach to the old school adventure theme, and it's got incredible music.
the music is.
It's got such a sense
phenomenal.
of style, and it creates mood in a really interesting way.
I agree.
Just the way you interact with the environment creates mood, and how, and the sort of anachronistic way people talk. It's such a clever.
I agree.
Cannata.